Hey guys, Manifest here. What is going on? So today I actually want to do a commentary, and this commentary is going to be on drawing characters, what I do the most, what I do the best. And it's going to be really just some tips that I can give from my experience, and I hope to help all you young artists and people who want to be able to draw characters, because drawing characters is one of the hardest things you can draw, but I find it one of the most exciting at the same time. So let's see here. I have a little list, just point form stuff so I can expand on it because I don't like to write out speeches. That's just boring to listen to. So heads are the hardest. This kind of means that obviously heads, but more faces are the hardest things to draw. The facial expressions, the eyebrows, the eyes. Noses are pretty simple, but the mouth, the eyes, the eyebrows, and the hair can even be really the most tricky part of drawing a person. And then it's just really hard because when you draw facial features, it's hard to capture emotion with them because you can draw them on, but you might look sad when he's supposed to look angry. He might look happy when he's supposed to be sad. It's just really hard to draw facial expressions and faces in general. And so after the faces comes the hands and the feet. Now I know I've gotten pretty decent at hands, but feet are still a little tricky for me, and I still don't really do faces all that often. But feet are just tricky because I don't draw them very often. Usually, I try to stray away from them and try to do just pictures where it's like half up or most of the way up. Just because I don't like drawing feet and I find them a pain. But I find hands and feet after the face are probably the hardest to draw. And then after that, pretty much comes the rest of the body because the rest of the body is just kind of equally hard depending on the picture. So next on the list is patience is your best friend. Now, what I mean by this is that you are not going to become some super comic book artist overnight. It's not going to happen. I haven't even gotten to a point where I could be even considered to draw comic books. There's no way because it takes a lot of time. Now, give or take, I've probably done this for about a year now, drawing characters. And as some of you have said, I've gotten pretty half decent at it. And it does take time. So keep in mind that it takes a lot of time. And also keep in mind that maybe you're not as talented as some of these people who have doodled a lot. Now, I was one of these people who kind of looked at art and always used to think, oh, it's just something that people pick up and that people are good at already before even going to the class. But that's not true. The people who run into high school and are really great artists, they've been doing it for quite a while, I can promise you. And you can even go and ask them, and they will probably tell you that they've at least been doing it for a year. Now, when you go into art, never ever think that you can't do it. That is the one thing that stopped me from being successful for about 2 months into my first art class is the thought that I couldn't do it. And these thoughts came from when I was younger, when I couldn't draw and I tried. And it really bothered me that I couldn't because I saw all these great artists and I wanted to be like them. I really did, but I could not draw. So going into the art class for about a month, I believed that I could not draw and that it was useless trying to teach me because I wasn't good at art. But being good at art can be taught as well. I am an example of this, and if you don't think that I am quite as good an artist as you could be, that's because I've only been doing it for a year. So keep in mind that patience is going to be your best friend. Don't drop faith in yourself on the first day when you can't draw something. It takes quite a while. So my next point is that shading brings everything to life. When you draw something and it kind of looks a little blank, kind of looks really 2D on your piece of paper, if you shade it and you shade it really well, it can look 3D, and I mean scary. I've seen some artists, I think his name was Rando, spelt with numbers and letters. I will probably see if I can link him in the description. His art is amazing. When he's done, it looks poster perfect. It could be put up in a movie theater for some of the stuff that he has done. It is amazing. And really, I mean, shading is that what it takes. When he just sketches his stuff, it looks like a sketch because that's what it is. But he adds color to it, and suddenly it's something much more than a sketch. It is absolutely incredible. And this goes for you too. So ways you can learn how to shade is practice. There's not much more to it. You just have to look at the picture, look what's darker, look what's lighter, and kind of work off of that. That's probably the best way to go about it. So my next point is that art classes are helpful, but they aren't as helpful as they probably could be. So what this really means is that you can take art classes. I'm not saying art classes are horrible. You can take them. However, I believe that the best way to learn is to learn by example or learn to do it from your own head. I learned best when I was at home going off a picture and drawing for myself. That's where I learned best. I learned a couple tricks here and there for art class. I learned 2-point perspective, 3-point perspective. But to be honest with you, I've forgotten all of that because I just draw from pictures. And I feel like that's probably one of the best ways to learn is just to practice by yourself. So my next point is draw superheroes. Now, superheroes being more of like a category, you could also draw anime, just cartoon characters, I probably should say. Because they're some of the best ways to do. If you try to do photorealistic art off the bat when you're drawing characters, you are not going to get where you want to be. I'm sorry, you're just not. So a good starting point for people that want to learn how to do this is superheroes or anime if you're into that kind of thing. You know, whatever floats your boat, just cartoony. So that way you can kind of get a handle on it before you jump into the harder stuff. Next is utensils. They're not going to make you an artist. A lot of people can think that, hey, this pencil will do this, and this marker will do this, and this pastel will do that. And that's great and wonderful, but the utensils do not make an artist. I have been drawing for a year. I've looked into Prismacolor. I've looked into all the brands, but I just didn't feel like spending money on this. It's more of a hobby. It's not something I would love to turn into a job. So I just stick with regular pencils. And you know what? They work fine. There's nothing wrong with regular pencils. If you want to end up going to Prismacolor, then go ahead by all means. But for me, it was never a deal with utensils. And do not for 1 second believe that this will make you a better artist. You make you a better artist, and nothing else can really do that. So my next point is that angles are hard. So when you start drawing superheroes, you'll realize that some of them are punching supervillains, and some of them are posing, and some of them are jumping into the air or flying around. Now, when you start, it's probably a good idea to draw something that is standing still, like posing, like his arms crossed across his chest, something like that, where it's easy to draw because it's just a picture of him from the front. Now, when you start getting into things like, I don't know, the Flash, like he's running, when you start to get into angles and arms and legs all over the place, it suddenly becomes much, much more difficult because the character is moving and at an awkward angle to draw. Angles are one of the hardest things to draw because some of the arm parts on his one arm will be much bigger while others will be much smaller compared to where his arms are. So if one is further back, it's going to be smaller, and the one that is further forward is going to be bigger. This is not a problem when you're drawing just a front picture of someone with his arms crossed, for example. It wouldn't be as much of a problem because everything should be roughly the same size that is on either side. So keep that in mind. Angles are the worst when you're drawing. And my last point, and by far the most important, never try too hard. Now you're probably asking yourself, why is this the most important point? And because I've learned this from being an artist, from being a musician, from doing tons of tests, from doing and playing video games. This is not just limited to art. Do not try so hard. I'll give you an example. You know when you get needles in the arm, and this is probably a horrible example, and people are probably asking, why are you going here? Okay, but hear me out. the needle goes in the arm, and if you leave your arm relaxed like they tell you to, your arm probably won't hurt as much as it would if you tense up. When you tense up, your muscles get irritated by the needle. And by the time it's out and days later, it'll still hurt because you tensed up and you did not let it just fall into place. And that is why it hurts. Now, how does this relate to art? Well, when you are angry because you've been trying so hard all night and nothing has happened, it's going to be the tense arm. You're not going to get anything done and it's going to just hurt. But when you leave your arm just to sit there so they can do their thing, it's not going to hurt as much. It's going to be good. It's going to be something that you've put time into, yet you're not going to get angry at if it doesn't turn out the way you want it to. And two, a lot of people get messed up on this when they play video games and people are better than them. They'll get really angry. Now, you'll notice that when you get really angry, your gameplay doesn't improve. If anything, it goes down. This is because probably it's one player that's making you really angry and you're focusing on that one player while everybody else is using you as target practice. This is kind of the same idea. It's just when you're angry, things don't go as well. You try to do it quicker, but in the end, you just go way too quick and it doesn't turn out. So, never try too hard. And I guess I should list off the rest of them. Heads are the hardest. Careful with the faces. They will be the hardest to draw. Patience is the best. Be patient. You'll become a good artist at some point if you keep drawing. Shading brings everything to life. It creates the 3D effect. And it's one of the most wonderful things to do after you've completed a good 2D drawing. Art classes are helpful, but not necessarily necessary. You don't need them to be an artist. Never say that a teacher can make you a much better artist. They may be able to make you a little bit better, but you could have done it by yourself had you had enough practice. Draw cartoon characters / superheroes / anime characters. Just draw cartoon. It's much easier than trying to draw photorealistic right off the bat. So get on to the internet, find some characters, draw them. And utensils are not going to make you a better artist. If anything, the only thing that makes you a better artist is you and or teachers. So don't buy utensils right off the bat because you think you'll be better. You will not be better because the utensils don't make an artist. Angles are hard, so when you're looking at a character that isn't just standing in a more 2D way, like he's running, like he's flying, that's going to be really hard because everything is at an angle. So I'll give you an example. One arm will be bigger than the other, and one arm will not be as big because the arm in front will be bigger, so that way it looks like that arm's further forward, while the one in the back will be not as big because it's further back. And the last point, which I've already told you about, never try too hard. Just keep calm and keep drawing. Well, that's really all I gotta say about that. Probably the longest commentary I have ever done. So thumbs up for that. But, of course, if you did like it, feel free to subscribe. And as I just said, give it a thumbs up. I will catch you guys in the next video. Manifest out.